Hello, and welcome to today's webinar, Burning Down the House, Firewalls and Data Protection. Today we're going to talk about firewalls and data protection and why you need a firewall. So let's go over some of the items we're going to talk about today. So what we're going to cover is what's the difference between a business firewall and the firewall that Comcast or Fios gives you when you sign up for their connection. And why do you need a business level firewall or an enterprise grade firewall? We're also going to talk about antivirus programs and how antivirus programs aren't all the same. We're also going to talk about zero-day threats, threats that suddenly pop up on your radar and how antivirus programs can deal with them. We're going to talk about crypto locking viruses and how to guard against them. WannaCry was a very famous virus about a year or so ago. It's also called ransomware. We're going to talk about how do you get your data back if it's compromised and what you can do to recover if you've gotten ransomware. And why encrypt your hard drives. We're going to touch on the Massachusetts privacy law, that's 201 CMR. And we're going to talk about a WISP and why your company needs to have a WISP in place. So let's talk about business firewalls. So today's modern firewalls are actually called UTMs, Unified Threat Management Systems. So they're more than just a firewall. The firewalls you get from Comcast and Fios and other providers are what we call static firewalls. These firewalls are designed to have a certain set of ports open, block certain programs that are known at the time of manufacture, and they don't dynamically update and they don't stay in touch with today's threat landscape. They're designed to block or allow traffic, and that's it. And, you know, it kind of makes you an island. And why do you want to be an island in today's internet? You need the internet in order to do business. The next generation of firewalls, sometimes called next generation firewalls, but more commonly referred to as unified threat management systems or firewalls, inspect traffic real time. Not only do they inspect traffic real time, but sonic walls like the firewalls like the Sonic Wall Firewall, which is the brand we use, are joined into a worldwide network called their grid network. And so if a firewall detects a threat on the other side of the world and they have the capture program turned on that's incorporated into the advanced Sonic Wall Firewalls, they actually stop that at the door. They detect the threat, they stop it at the door, they send it up the Sonic Wall, and they test the code and actually execute the code to see what it's going to do and whether it's malicious or not. If the code is malicious, and this all happens real time, if the code is malicious, it's actually blocked from entering your network. On top of that, the fingerprint to identify that malicious code is sent out to all the other firewalls also on the grid network. So unless your firewalls are updated real time, they're not really effective anymore. So the same thing holds true for antivirus. Antivirus programs now and anti-spyware programs need to be web-based. They need to be online. They need to be updating real time. And they need to get the updates from all around the world on the other virus programs on the same network. Viruses have a digital fingerprint, but today's viruses are more like virus cocktails. They take the best of this and the best of that. They may take snippets of code from several viruses, put them together in a virus cocktail that's a totally new variant or strain, and send that out. That's what's called the zero-day threat. It's never been seen in the wild before, but the new anti-spyware programs, antivirus programs, and firewalls know to look for snippets of code and know to detect if it's a zero-day threat based on the little bits of code and also sending them up to a capture sandbox facility and executing that code to see what it really does. So again, unless you have a modern, up-to-date antivirus program that's linked into a web-based port or protocol dashboard, again, you're just not up to date. So in our company, we talked about Sonic Wall Firewalls. Those report real time. We use WebRoot, Viper antivirus is also another good one. Those all report back to the dashboard and are linked into our ticketing system. So when there's a threat out there in the wild that gets new threats identified, we know about it immediately, and tickets are opened up on our system, and viruses are blocked real time. So what is a crypto locking virus, and how do you guard against that? WannaCry I mentioned was a pretty famous or infamous virus a few years ago. But crypto locking is also referred to as ransomware. And basically, you click on a link in an email, you go to a bad website, and you click on a link, and it downloads a program that actually encrypts all of your data using a special crypto locker key. So the encryption key is held by the folks who did the bad deed, and they're willing to sell it back to you, so sell it to you, not back to you, but sell you the key to unlock your data so you can recover your data. There's no way to protect against this unless you've used version level backups. You can have a USB drive attached to your system, but if it's just copying over files every night, those files are going to be encrypted as well. What you need is a backup that runs, that stores that data in version level. So you can we store copies every hour on our major clients, and then sync that up to the cloud on a real-time basis. So if you've got crypto locked at 4 p.m. on Tuesday afternoon, we can go back to a backup from 1 p.m. on Tuesday afternoon that's been protected and is not being updated real time. It's a snapshot of that point in time. So if you are infected, if a crypto locking virus does get past all of our other defenses, we can fall back to a more recent version of your files. Okay, so we talked about how you recover from a compromise. You have to have a version-based backup, not just a USB on the side of your desk, or even some of these OneDrives and programs like that are just, if they're real-time, they're going to get crypto locked as well. So why do you encrypt hard drives? It sounds like we just said encryption is bad. Well, encryption is bad if you don't have the key. But encryption is good if you're the one holding the key, because no matter how many passwords you have and how many fingerprints you use to log onto your computer, if somebody steals your computer and they remove your hard drive, they can attach it to another computer system and read all the data on that drive unless it's encrypted. So encrypting your data when you're doing it is a good thing as long as you hold the key. And matter of fact, for many of us, it's required by law based on the industry we're in. If you're dealing with health information, financial information, any personal information that can be linked back and used to get at users' personal information within the state of Massachusetts or in several other states, and now any European-based citizens, you're required by law to protect that information. Encrypted hard drives are one of the best ways to start on that path. If you have a breach and your hard drive is not encrypted, you have laptop stolen, you must report it immediately to authorities in the state of Massachusetts. If that laptop was encrypted, you have until the end of the year to report that breach. Nobody wants to have to report a breach and you've lost all of your clients' information. So what is the Massachusetts privacy law? The 201 CMR was put into law on March 1st, 2010. And it set aside a strict set of laws that Massachusetts businesses have to use to protect Massachusetts citizens' data. As a matter of fact, any business that has Massachusetts citizens' data on it has to conform to these laws. It requires things like up-to-date firewalls, up-to-date antivirus, best effort on all of these safeguards. Ironically, Massachusetts state government and local government is exempt from these laws. Go figure. So you have to have these in place. Along with that, you need a WISP, a Written Information Security Plan. So a WISP outlines how you're going to handle data, what you're doing to protect your client's data, how you train your staff, what you do if your staff actually mishandles the data, what kind of discipline action is taking place, and how you're basically complying with these regulations. So if you don't have a written information security policy and a security officer assigned, you're automatically guilty. You may have a written policy and it may be not up to standards, but at least if you have one, you've taken your first steps towards due diligence. Again, without a written information security policy in the state of Massachusetts with a breach, you're going to be automatically guilty, and the fines can be quite severe. So that's the end of our slide presentation. So I want to go back and talk about some about the firewalls. So we talked about these next generation firewalls and how you deal with next generation firewalls. So one of the things you want to do is, and what I'm trying to do is stop the slideshow, but I'm not sure I want to screw around and try to do that right now because I'm going to waste valuable time and it's your time. So let's just talk briefly about the firewalls. So again, next generation firewalls, the sonic wall, which is the one we use, they collect information from all the sonic walls that are running on the grid network. So a firewall really is a piece of hardware that runs a lot of software services on top. And you must have your annual subscriptions in place. And that you need the advanced threat protection, things like capture, that actually take the threats that they see and stop them at your door and send them up to the sonic wall grid network for testing. And then share that information all around the world with all the other firewalls through the form of updates. So these updates are key to getting real-time protection. Same thing as with antivirus. If you don't have these modern antivirus programs, you are just not going to be thoroughly protected. So first thing I would do is head over to our website, www.actco.com. That's www.alpha-charlie-tango-charlie-oscar.com. Look for our blogs, sign up for our newsletter. There's a ton of good information coming out of our newsletter. Look at our security programs, Security Gone Wild, and stop and read some of this. And again, sign up because it's really critical to stay abreast of this information. We'll have ongoing webinars to help educate you. Again, thank you for spending your valuable time with us and learning about some of the security issues. And we'll be seeing you on the next webinar.